Good good morning, Grace Tribe. Wonderful to see everyone. Hope you are doing great. Happy Thursday. Good morning, Donna. Good morning. I saw Rich and Adam and Walt and Neil. Carolyn, good morning. Kat, good morning. Good to see you. Wonderful to see everyone on this morning. We had, I think, the announcement that we were live wasn't catching people very quickly, so people were a little slower than usual to jump on, but I am excited to get to share with you today. Yesterday, we talked about what real grace is and isn't. And today, we're talking about what real faith is and isn't. And of course, we could spend years on this topic, and we'll circle back to it. I've already decided there's more that I want to say on the topic, but we can sort of lay a foundation today. I am very excited about this and some upcoming topics, but as many of you know, we are in the middle of relocating sort of our ministry headquarters and packing up stuff here in San Antonio. And so it is crazy beans. We are hopping. So we're going to have to be packing up this office here very soon. And yeah, it's going to get busy. It's going to get real busy real quick. So that's what's up. We're going to be missing some of our regularly scheduled broadcasts over the next few weeks, but we're going to catch what we can. We're going to do it however we can, and we're going to keep the devotional talks, the incredible interview time, the time fellowshipping and sharing and doing prayer requests and Q&A. All of that will be continuing. So just stay tuned. We'll let you know as we go. We may not always know exactly when we'll be able to be on, but we're going to keep the time going. Someone asked, Mike, are you going to continue to do the broadcast when you move? And, you know, they were very concerned that they wouldn't have that devotional content. They're a podcast listener, and they messaged in and said, hey, are you going to continue doing the podcast? Absolutely. That is a core part of what we do. It's not the only part. We work directly with leaders. We do lots of leadership training. We do discipleship conferences. We fill pulpits. We are offering some courses I'm very excited about in the near future. Lots of things that we get to do. We do counselor training. We have a counseling team. Certainly do a lot of coaching with ministry leaders and groups. So we do a lot of things, but core to what I love to do and what God has us uniquely doing is this live, interactive broadcast. So good morning, Gretchen. We were going to see if Gretchen might be available next Tuesday, but I didn't see. Maybe she replied. I should look, Gretchen. I sent you a text and then we got started. So I'm going to look at my messages. How rude is that? Let's see. All right. We don't know. All right. We're waiting to find out. Oh, you're a go. Schedule me in. Ladies and gentlemen, this last week, I was with Steve Eden and Gretchen Cannon and the whole and her wonderful hubs, Brian, and we just had an incredible time, didn't we, Gretchen? It was amazing. And so it's exciting that I wanted her to come on this next Triber Tuesday, and Gretchen and I are going to share about what discipleship is. There's a lot of weird talk like discipleship isn't for today. It was before the cross. No, it wasn't. Jesus talked an awful lot about people needing to be his disciples and told us to go and be disciple makers. So discipleship, is a real thing. Discipleship is a real thing. So Gretchen is one of the few people that I think is doing discipleship really, really well. And it's getting better in terms of church groups that are doing discipleship really well. The best discipleship I've seen have been people outside of the local church until there were some things that we were able to do when I was pastoring. And then as I've increasingly been working with churches around the country, that's been taken up a little bit with a bunch of other folks. But Gretchen really is knocking out of the park. And having just worked with her, not for the first time, but worked with her leaders and her discipleship group members. They call it M28 out of Matthew 28, the Great Commission, go and make disciples. And man, it is so sweet. And it's going to get better. We're already talking about introducing some fun tools and processes to that paradigm. It's so rich. And, you know, everything that you choose costs you what you don't. Let me say that again. Everything that you choose costs you what you can't choose. You can't choose two paths to walk. So to invite people into a discipling relationship requires sacrificing what people would be doing with their time otherwise, what people would be wanting in relationships otherwise. To enter into an intentional discipling relationship means that you're giving up that time and other purposes of those relationships. So it feels costly, but it benefits more than it costs. Just like parenting, you can't parent and take no time for it. You can't be in a marriage and never and it be healthy and never invest in your marriage. So discipleship, yeah, it's costly, it's a commitment, but maybe the best phrase is that it's intentional. It's intentional. You're choosing that relationship, that time, that investment. That's a great word for it. Yeah, it's commitment, but it's an invested commitment. It's not obligatory. You're not doing it out of obligation, performance, or merit. And so Gretchen's done this great job of highlighting both the relational benefits of that kind of relationship, but also the commitment, the challenge. She likes to use the word challenge. So I want y'all to hear from her and from me what discipleship looks like and what is necessary and how that works in community. In fact, it works best in community. So that's okay. That's okay. Listen, my marriage is worth the time. My ministry is worth the commitment. I'm committed to showing up here whenever I can at 8 a.m. Central Time. Does that make sense? Commitment is not a bad word. Work is not a bad word. Effort is not a bad word. We were made to value things, which by their very nature means that we prioritize them, invest in them, commit to them. So we've kind of gotten discipleship and commitment and challenge have gotten a bad rap. And I'm here to tell you, nothing is given value if you can't give anything up for it. And I'm just amazed at the health and maturity of the community that Gretchen has built. So anyway, all that to say, Tuesday, you should probably mark your calendar. Tuesday, on Triber Tuesday, Gretchen and I are going to be talking about the nature of discipleship and the process of discipling, intentional discipleship relationships in community specifically. And you don't have to do it the way she does it, but boy, we're missing out if we don't do it at all. So anyway, we have counselors. If you're in crisis, we have discipleship counselors, and they are bringing the whole scope and sequence of New Covenant to bear in the crisis and overwhelming issues of people's lives. That's a great tool for discipleship. But if you're not in crisis, or you're not overwhelmed, or you're not struggling through a specific season, then counseling might not be the only, isn't the only, and might not be the best set of tools for your discipleship. So there is discipleship counseling. There is discipleship community. There are discipling relationships and mentoring and coaching. But I'll tell you what, there isn't mass discipleship. There isn't discipleship from a stage. It's not information transfer, even really good information, even well-delivered information. Discipleship is a relationship. So anyway, I'm pre-teaching the teaching. Yes, Rich, my plan is to have the broadcast on Monday. There's some things outside of my control. It's crazy. Boy, that's the understatement of the year, that there's some things outside of my control. But we will definitely be here Tuesday. I'm going to try to be on Monday, so watch for that. But mark your calendars for Tuesday. Didn't mean to imply we wouldn't do Monday. That is my plan. All right. There's a lot of announcements. If you have a prayer request, just put that in the comments. If you have a question, we're going to do some Q&A very soon on the topics that we're covering. Yesterday, we talked about what grace really is. Today, we're talking about what faith really is. On Tuesday with Gretchen, we're going to talk about what discipleship really is. And so if you have questions about these or anything else, you let us know. Maybe Well, there's some other topics we're going to be covering in this little mini series, and I'm excited about it. If you can't tell, I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about where we're going as a ministry. You and I bringing the whole truth to the whole church in this generation. That's what we're doing. Gretchen, you couldn't be on yesterday. I know you were on with your Philippine pastors, your M28 group in the Philippines, on a video call. I was bragging on you yesterday too. But that's the vision. That's what we're working on. God has put on my heart that we want the whole truth brought to the whole church, the whole body of Christ in this generation. I want to see it done. I want to see it done. I want to see it done. Doug, the short answer to your question, what is your definition of great faith? It's having any amount of faith, half of a mustard seed of faith in a great God. That's great faith. Rightly placed faith is great faith. How about that? Rightly placed faith is great faith. Mike, you have such great faith. No, you don't. You just don't realize how great God is. If you knew how great God is, you wouldn't be impressed with my faith. You'd be impressed with my God. Oh, my God is a great God. It doesn't take a lot. It's not impressive to have faith in a great God. Of course, I would trust him. Of course, I would be available to him. Of course, I would be looking and placing my hope in him. Let's see. Isla, can you please, I can't read it fast enough. I'm going to put it on the screen. Sorry, Isla, if you didn't want that. Can you reconcile through the grace paradigm 1 Corinthians 5 regarding even eating with sexually more? Absolutely. We're going to spend more time on that than I have today, but we're going to add that to our list, and we'll certainly cover that, maybe even on Monday. If not, we'll try to do it Wednesday. All right. Listen, it's that time. We got to get this party started. If it's not already, we got to get out of the entryway and into the living room and go deep in our conversation. I almost hit end the broadcast, into the stream. I don't want to do that. I want us to roll our intro and dive into listen, is your faith more challenge than joy? Is your faith more of an obstacle that you have to get over to get what you need in your life? Maybe you're looking at it wrong. Maybe you're looking at it wrong. True faith is a joy-filled faith. Your soul will sing most entrusted to the Father. So that's where we're headed. You're going to love this. Let's talk about a joy-filled faith. Glad you're here. Let's do it. Awakening souls to our life in Christ. My name is Mike Q. Daniel, and we are celebrating all that we have in Christ Jesus by grace. Be sure to share your questions or prayer requests at MikeQDaniel.com. And I want to welcome you to Mike Q. Daniel Live with the Grace Tribe. Woohoo! Good morning, Grace Tribe. Sip of coffee, starting things off right. I woke up this morning pretty early and heard my wife already up. Stacey was up and getting ready. And I thought, she's up a little early. And so I tried to go back to sleep. I was having a little back problem, rolled around, 3 times, and finally just started to get up. And here she came in with pumpkin spice lattes. She went and got us pumpkin spice lattes. I had mentioned to her last night that they were now available. I saw that they were available, and she went and got them just to go, happy fall, happy fall. Well, I don't drink, believe it or not, I don't drink nearly the Starbucks drinks that I used to drink. But now, if you're in the U.S., maybe, it's true internationally too, but especially in the U.S., Starbucks is a thing. And the official start of fall is not the date that the season begins. It's when pumpkin spice lattes come. And we don't love pumpkin spice lattes like they're the greatest thing ever, but it's awfully fun. We want to be embracers of life and suck the marrow from life and enjoy life. And so what a great thing that I got to wake up to, really just my wife loving on me. And the reason I say that is, folks, all of God's gifts to you are not so that you can fall in love with the gifts, but that you realize that God is in love with you. So it's not that I love pumpkin spice lattes. It's that it spoke of Stasa wanting to do something fun with me. She just was excited to do it. She wanted to surprise me with this little joy bubble gift. That's a great thing. I had pumpkin spice lattes in bed this morning, not because that's the greatest thing ever, but because she loves me. She loves me. It spoke of her love for me. And that's God every single moment of every single day. You're not meant to fall in love with the gifts. It's not that this is the one and only best sunrise ever, though it's been very nice. It's that God loves you. These tokens of his love all the time are meant not for you to fall in love with the gifts, but to fall in love with the giver. Fall in love with the giver. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you. Every sunset, every sip of coffee, every great conversation, every opportunity you have to sow life into someone else, to walk in joy instead of fear or grief. My friends, that is God loving you. Not that he doesn't love you when you don't experience those things. He's not trying to give you Disneyland Christianity, that everything is a joyride, but he's joy even when you're not on that ride. You can experience real joy, and it requires understanding something about our faith. So pour yourself some coffee. If you haven't already, and take your phone or whatever with you, pour your coffee. Don't miss a word of this, because today we really do need to clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings in Christianity. It's a big deal, and it causes lots of error in how people approach God and live their life, what they expect from him, what they expect from themselves. So today, in episode 899, we're talking about faith is more than believing harder. We're talking about a joy-filled life by faith. So here's the deal. Faith is not you trying really hard to believe until God finally caves. Well, you finally believed enough. You finally waited enough. You finally strived solically enough to earn what you want. You're not trying to get God to cave in. Faith is not pulling up on the armrests, shouting at the cockpit and hoping that the pilot listens to your plan for landing. Oh, turn left, turn right, go up, go down, hit smooth. Your instructions and your panic and your lifting the armrests does not help him. He's either great at his job or bad at his job. Your yelling more at him is not going to make him fly better. You don't make the plane fly straighter by straining harder. The plane that you're on, the flight that you're on, it's going to hold you up because of the pilot and the design and the sturdiness of its construction, not because of how tightly you're gripping your seat. Your panic doesn't help the plane fly better. And we kind of think faith is like that. But faith is not getting God to do what you want. Faith is about trusting and receiving what he wants from you. Your level of desperation does not change the faithfulness of God towards you. So we've got to get this right. It's not about you. I have faith for what I want from God today. I have faith that everything's going to go smoothly. Why? Has he told you that's what he's going to do? Or are you just thinking that if you put enough energy into thinking it's true, you'll make it true? That's faith in your faith, not faith in God. And there's a whole lot of faithing in faith today. Faith is about trusting and receiving what God wants for you. It's not about getting God to do what you want from him. It's about trusting and receiving what God wants from you. Is he a good father? Do you not always see how he's being good, but he is being good? Then trust him. Trust him with what you know, but trust him with what you don't know, because he is trustworthy, not because he's doing what you want. So here's our agenda for today. Faith has no merit. Write it down. Faith is not a good work earning favor. Faith has no merit. It's not a currency. It's receptivity. It's not a currency. You're not earning something by your faith. It's receptivity. So number one, faith has no merit. Faith is not a good work. Number two, faith is only as good as the one it rests in. Not in how much you're flexing your faith, but how faithful is the one in whom you are placing your faith, right? It's his faithfulness that makes our faith work. So if we are putting our faith in faith, how much we flex our own faith, then that's not going to work. And we're going to increase our doubt instead of our trust. Faith is only as good as the one it rests in. So to rightly see God and to rightly see our relationship with him and to know what it means to trust him instead of putting our faith in how great our faith is, which is a misnomer, then until we do that, then we're going to be missing the whole value of that faith. That is not a joy-filled faith. Flexing our faith, hoping the more we trust him, the more we'll get from him, is completely missing the point. So number one, faith has no merit. It's not a good work. It doesn't speak of you at all. Number two, faith is only as good as the one it rests in. Faith is only as good as the object of your faith. It has nothing to do with how well you're faithing. It has everything to do with how great God is and how rightly placed that faith is. Number three, faith is letting Christ live his life in us. Faith is letting. I know I say it every day, but faith really is letting. It's letting Christ live his life by grace through us and trusting him with the outcome instead of demanding our own. There is no degree of faith that gets you to cause what you want. That's faith in you. It's faith in your faith instead of faith in him. So we've got to kind of build this. I just want to tell you in advance what we're going to do. And I'm going to defend those and build them and apply them and see if we can put some meat on the bones of those three things. There's so much more we could say about it. But point number one, faith has no merit. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying it's not earning you anything. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith." Faith is the mechanism by which we're trusting what we do not deserve, right? It is by grace that you have been saved through faith. So again, faith is the mechanism by which we trust what we do not deserve. It's not the means of earning. It's the means of trusting what we cannot earn. It's by grace through faith, not faith independent of grace. It is by grace that you have been saved through faith. Does that make sense? So faith is the mechanism by which we trust what we do not deserve. Faith is not the means of deserving it. Faith is trusting what we don't deserve. If faith somehow earned grace, it wouldn't be grace. And Paul goes on, he says, this is not from yourselves. It's not your doing. It's not your earning. It's the gift of God, not by works. So faith is not works. Faith is not a work. It's not a good work. This is not from yourselves. It's the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. It's by grace that you've been saved through faith. He's showing us this relationship of faith and grace. It is grace that saves you, and the mechanism of that Christ-earned favor, it's not unearned favor, it's Christ-earned favor. It's not that it's unmerited favor, it's just unmerited by you. So it's by grace that you've been saved, and it's through faith that you receive that grace. You are receiving what you do not earn. Faith is a gift because you get to enjoy it. It is not a gift like it's a commodity that's come to you in the mail. So we've got this wrong idea that faith is a gift. Yes, it is, because what a joy, like sunsets are a gift. You don't get to earn it. You get to enjoy it. But faith is not a gift like you can't choose apart from God choosing you. So we've got to be careful with that phrase that faith is a gift. Because while it is a gift, it's a gift like relationships are a gift. It's a gift like the work I get to do is a gift. That doesn't mean I have no choice. We've got to be careful with the faith is a gift. Not every scripture about faith operates from faith as a gift. It just means you get to have faith. It is by grace that you get to have faith, but faith is still your choosing, and you are made, designed, operate by faith all the time. Every light switch, every airplane, every chair you sit in, every sip of coffee you drink is you entrusting something. Do you see the difference? So we need to be really, I'm honestly getting a little fed up with faith as a gift. Like, you can't cause it. It's just given to you. No, you're misunderstanding. Faith is a gift the same way that parenting is a gift. What a gift that is. I get to enter into this relationship. That doesn't mean that it's not my choosing and I have no role in that. Like, well, God's got to give me the faith for me to believe, so I have to be saved before I can be saved. That's such bunk. We need to get away from the lie that faith is not you getting to choose, because that's all it is. So you're not saved by how much you believe. You're not earning something by believing. You don't have to be given faith because you're incapable of any good work. Faith isn't a good work. So the lie becomes, well, since faith is good and faith is a gift and you can't do anything good until you're saved, God has to pick you and regenerate you before you can choose him. You got to be pre-saved before you're saved. No, you do not. We are naturally faith walkers. The question is, where is your faith? So does he have to give you revelation? Absolutely. Does he have to invite you into relationship? Absolutely. But does he give you some kind of faith that you can't resist and you must choose, so it's not really up to you? No. And does he have to save you before you can choose him to be saved? No, because you're saved by grace, not by faith. Faith is the mechanism of receiving what you do not deserve, not the mechanism of deserving it. Do you see it? Do you see it? Faith is not the mechanism by which you deserve grace. That makes no sense. Faith is the mechanism by which you receive grace you do not ever, not by faith or otherwise, deserve. You don't deserve it by trusting him. Faith has no merit. Faith is not a spiritual merit badge. Look at my great faith unto salvation, unto trusting him to walk on water. Yeah, that is not faith. That's edifying faith, not Christ. Faith earns nothing, produces nothing, causes nothing. Faith is simply how we receive favor we do not merit. Christ has merited it. He merits it. Our faith should speak of how great he is, not how well we do. Friends, faith is not your down payment so that God will finance the rest. Faith is just you buckling the seatbelt while the pilot flies you all the way home. You're buckling your seatbelt because you're trusting you're on the right plane doesn't cause him to fly better. Faith isn't about gritting your teeth on takeoff or showing off how unbothered you are by turbulence. Either way, either extreme, neither of those things help the pilot or the plane get where it's going. You don't have to white knuckle yourself through the Christian life by faith. Faith is resting in the one who already has the controls, not gritting your teeth and gripping the armrests to try to keep the plane up by your will. You are not willing the plane to fly. Faith is not willing God to do what you want. Faith is not manifesting anything into existence. It's trusting the one who's trustworthy. Faith is simply trusting the one who is trustworthy. You're not causing, earning, producing anything by trusting the one who is worthy of your trust. Does that make sense? You are not earning or causing or producing, meriting anything by faith. You are simply trusting the one who is trustworthy. You don't manifest what you want in your life. You're not forcing God's hand somehow. You're not taking the controls by faith. You're actually letting go of the controls by faith because someone else has got the controls. You don't need more faith to keep wings on a plane. If you think that, then you've confused yourself with Boeing. Like, I need to do better to keep wings on the plane. They might need to do better to keep wings on the plane. But you hoping more does not make the flight more stable. It's either rightly placed or wrongly placed. Let's fix our focus rightly on the one worthy of our faith, not try to force his hand by our faith. So what do we do? How does this become practical? Well, faith is not currency in heaven's economy. I don't care who has said that to you. Faith is not the currency of heaven. It's just the hand that's picking up the gift because you are capable of picking it up and you're choosing to trust him instead of trusting you as your source, trusting him instead of trusting others as your source, trusting him instead of trusting the world as your source. No one is a victim in God's economy because it's by grace. We are only victims because we're putting our hope in the world, and the world can never satisfy. So we want to blame somebody. So, my friends, we don't put our faith in faith. We don't say, if only I had more faith, the plane would stay in the air. No. The plane holds if it does because it's built to fly. And it doesn't hold if it doesn't hold because it was poorly built. Rightly placed faith, not an increase of faith, not enough faith, not forcing my will upon anyone or anything faith, not manifesting what I hope it to be faith. None of that is real faith. On Fire Ministries. My name is Mike Q. Daniel. You are on Mike Q. Daniel Live. This is a live broadcast where we record a podcast, and it's all about discipleship talks for real new covenant grace through faith living, practical grace in our life. So I'm glad you're here. Chime in. So, my friends, we're not trying to cause things by our faith. We're trusting the one who's worthy of our faith. Do you see the difference? You're not causing stuff by your faith. You're more receptive to the one who's worthy of your faith. It's about him, not about what you want from him. Let's stop putting faith in faith. Let's start putting faith in God. He is worthy of your faith. So point number 2, faith is not only is faith not meriting you anything, but point 2, faith is only as good as the one it's in. Jesus said in Mark 11, verse 22, have faith in God. Where's your faith today? Is your faith in how much faith you have? Are you faking faith because you think if you have more, you'll get more? Faith is not about volume or intensity, despite my passion and excitement. Faith is not about how great your passion is. It's about object. What is the object of your faith? If the object of your faith is right, then you will have what that object provides. If the object of your faith is not valid, then you're going to have what that object provides. Is your faith rightly placed? Because it's not about more faith. It's not about more proclamation of what you want from God. God is not taking a poll, my friends. God gets to be God today, and you get to trust him. You can scream the commands from seat 32B on the plane all you want, but the pilot's still flying, and you don't need more faith to keep the wings on if the wings are staying on. And if you have more faith, it's not going to keep the wings on if the wings are coming off. You just need enough faith to get on the right plane and to stay in your seat. There's an awful lot of people that are on the right plane and panicked about how it's getting them home. In Christian life, there's an awful lot of people that are on the right plane, but they don't trust where they're going and how they're getting there. And that does not create a joy-filled life. The smallest mustard seed of faith. I told the group that I was doing conferences and preaching with this last weekend. I don't remember if it was at the conference or it might have been when I was preaching on Sunday. for that group in Oklahoma. But I said, I don't even have a mustard seed of faith. I have like half a mustard seed of faith. My little half a mustard seed of faith, though, is rightly placed in the grace of God. The smallest mustard seed of faith in Christ, rightly placed, holds you more securely than the greatest mountain of faith in yourself or the multitude of faith in how much you believe. My hope is not in how much I believe. My hope is in him in whom I have placed my faith. Listen, it isn't great faith in God that moves mountains. It's a tiny faith in a great God that moves mountains. And he said again, it is not great faith in God. Dun, dun, dun. Look at my great faith. Who cares? Do I have great faith in my coffee cup? Well, if it's going to work, I like my coffee cup, by the way, our Cup of Grace mugs. But no amount of faith is going to make it a better mug. If it's rightly placed, then I get to enjoy that rightly placed faith. If I put my faith in my hands and I pour the coffee in my hands, well, then I'm an idiot. And I've misplaced. No amount of faith is going to make that work out well. It isn't great faith in God that moves mountains. It's a tiny amount of faith rightly placed in a great God. It's the object of your faith, not the quantity or quality of your faith. You're not manifesting and causing and producing stuff by how much you believe. Rightly placed faith is great faith. Faith works not because you believe harder. Stop trying to work yourself up into some spiritual lather of faith. It's not because you believe harder, but because he is faithful. He is worthy of your faith because of his faithfulness. It's rightly placed faith. The object of your faith is what matters. How about you trust him for who he is instead of trusting him for what you want from him? You don't get to direct his activity. Yeah, Doug, that's a great comment. He's looking at, I love this, Mark 5:34. And I don't know, Doug, if you meant this as a rebuke to what I'm saying, but it's not, because Jesus said, daughter, your faith has healed you because it's rightly placed. It was great faith in Jesus. She's like, I just want to touch his robe. Even that would be enough to heal me. I just want to touch his cloak because even getting close to him would be good enough. That's rightly placed faith. So yeah, that's incredibly good healing faith because it is through that faith that God's unmerited favor, his grace, healed her. And the mechanism of that was her faith. She wasn't thinking, well, maybe I can get into the pool of Bethesda and God will heal me. That's wrongly placed faith. Maybe if I spin around and count 10 times, God will heal me. In other words, her faith was great faith and was the mechanism of her healing because it was perfectly, rightly, completely, even just touching his cloak, I think, will heal me. Maybe that could be enough. Isn't that beautiful? She was so right in her faith. It didn't even require much. She's like, I don't need to convince him. Do you see what she's done? I'm not trying to convince him to heal me. I'm not trying to earn his healing. I'm not going to follow him for 3 years and maybe eventually he'll heal me. I'm just going to get close to him because he's enough. He's enough. He's enough. Isn't that beautiful? So it was by her faith. But listen, it wasn't, could she have put her faith in something else and it not worked? Yeah. So it's not how much faith she had. It was rightly placed faith because he, not her faith, he is the healer. I hope that helps. I love that. That's a great example. Do you see how her faith is just him? Just even being close in the middle of the crowd and he doesn't even know I exist and I just want to touch his cloak and I think that's going to be enough for me because he is it. It was faith in him. Not in anything else. Do you see how narrow, how singular, how humble that dependence was? Man. Rightly placed faith, not quantity of faith, is what heals us. You're never going to trust him without doubt because it wouldn't require trust. You're only going to trust him in contrast to doubt. There's always Any chair you sit in, there's the risk that it won't hold you up. But if you sit in a chair that can hold you up, then you experience the fruit of its ability as you place your faith in it. So placing your faith in something, in a chair, requires sitting in it. I can't go, I think all those chairs are fine. Well, that's an idea that could be accurate and it might not be. But if you want to place your faith in one of those chairs, you got to sit in it. Does your sitting in it earn being held up? No. Rightly placed faith in the right chair is what holds you up. Does that make sense? So the woman rightly placed her faith, and that is what healed her because her hope was in him. As opposed to, if I have enough faith in whatever I do, it'll heal me. I can manifest it by believing really hard. Positive mental attitude is going to cause me to have faith. I'm going to earn it from God by how hard I had to work to get to him. No, her faith wasn't in her. It wasn't in the cloak. It wasn't in the process. It was in him. It was in him. It was in him. And it was in him. That faith is what allowed her healing. Not only does your faith have no merit, and not only is it about the object of your faith, not some random quantification of faith. It's not how great your faith is. It's how great the object of your faith is. God is great. That's what makes your faith great. Not only is that true, not only is it not merit, not only is it all about the object of your faith, not your faith itself, but number 3, faith lets Christ live. Faith lets Christ live. Doesn't earn his life. Doesn't cause his life. I was trying to highlight it. Let's see if I can put this on the screen. There you go. Faith lets. I know I use this all the time because it's so core to so much of what we teach and encourage. But we can't talk about faith specifically as our topic today and not use this. So sorry if it seems redundant because I do allude to this all the time. Galatians 2:20 says, I have already and forever. Paul talking as a believer, not saying everybody, as a believer, he says, I have already and forever been crucified with Christ. And I am no longer the one doing the living. But Christ lives in me. Christ is doing the living. It's not how great your faith is in him. It's how great he can live through you. The life I now live in the body, Paul says, my role in this union life with his spirit in me, this life I'm living, my role is by faith in him. Faith in him. My dependence, my trust, as he's doing the living. So my faith is not my living for him. My faith is letting him live through me, the Son of God who loved me. It's in him who loved me. I can see it on the cross. I can see it in his sacrifice. I can see it in his choice of a righteous life. I can see it in him condescending into human flesh. The life that I live is by faith in him. What I'm doing is trusting him, who clearly loves me and gave himself for me. Our verb is let. His verb is live. His verb by grace is living. Our verb by faith is letting. We let by faith, him live by grace. Hey, Rob, glad you got some internet working. Good to see you, my friend. Rob messaged me earlier and said, I don't think I can get on. I don't have internet. And here he is, delivered to us. Your favorite part, Rob, we just got here. Our verb is letting. His verb is living. Rob throws that out all the time. Love it. Love it. Rob gets it. Listen, faith doesn't make things happen. Faith lets Christ be the life. It is a miraculous life. It is a divine life. It is participating in his divine life. It does produce divine fruit and divine works and divine empowerment, divine gifts, all of that. But that's him living through you, not you producing some divine thing for him. If you could do it, he wouldn't have to. And if he's done it, you don't have to. You let him live. Faith isn't you trying to fly the plane from coach. I'm in economy basic, but I'm going to make this plane get home. Now, I've been on planes when Stasa had been injured in the Philippines on our missions trip, that they're like, we're going to release her to fly home, but it's got to be a smooth ride. It's like, well, I can't control that, but God can. And so as the plane started to get bumpy and she started to not feel okay, I literally started praying out loud on the plane over the rumble of the plane. And God brought us in like we were on glass. It was the most amazing, miraculous thing, short of her having been healed in the first place. So I'm not saying we're not placing our faith in God. I'm not saying that we don't proclaim his trustworthiness. I'm not saying we don't put faith on display. I'm not saying we don't act on our faith. I'm saying that the reason God brought us home like we were just skating on glass, on ice, like we were on rails, he just brought us in, and it was, going all over the place. And I thought, this is going to kill her. She just got saved from this calamity, and this plane ride is going to kill her. She has a swollen brain. She was brought back to me miraculously, and the swelling is going down, but she cannot handle being shaken like a can about to explode. She can't. This is going to kill her. And so I just, in the middle of the plane, we were in the middle of the plane, I just started praying out loud. God, you bring us in on rails. You bring us in perfectly smooth. You make this flight just smooth as glass. I just started praying out loud to him over the ruckus, over everybody, everyone was panicking. And I just started praying over the ruckus of the plane, and it just got smooth and came in smooth as could be. Everyone was, and I just kept praying whole time home. And we came in smooth as glass. Listen, I am not saying we don't exercise faith. I'm saying I'm not manifesting that or earning that or causing that from God. That's all by grace and speaks only of him. My trust in him speaks of how great he is, not how great I am, or there's no grace in it. I'm not earning it by my faith. And Jesus would say to me, like he did in Mark 5 to the woman with the issue of blood who touched his cloak, he would say, your faith has saved you. But how has it saved me? Because my faith hasn't merited something from God. I'm not earning his favor. It's just rightly placed on him. When we got off that flight, I planned to share this. I kind of forgot about this, honestly. It's less of a miracle than her having been healed in the Philippines. But on the way home, we went through this thing on the plane, and we had to bribe the medical board to get her on the plane. And when we landed, truly, we were all just like, wow, God, wow. Whole plane of people just in awe of God. And as we got off, of course, Stasa has to have a wheelchair, and she's wheeled off. We're just trying to keep everything as smooth and calm as possible for her. And she gets wheeled off, and we were the whole team of people. And so the team of people are all going into the bathrooms, and I'm, as a leader on the trip, kind of hanging out and waiting for everybody. And so, there's a bathroom in the international terminal before you go to the, to the passport thing. And so I'm just standing in the hallway, and everybody's kind of scattered. I got this huge team that I'm waiting, not huge, but whatever it was, 12 people that I'm waiting on. And Stasa, who's in a wheelchair, being, carefully brought through everything. And so I'm standing in the hallway, and the whole plane gets off and leaves. And then the crew from the plane come off. And as they come off the plane and there's no one else there, and I'm just standing in the hallway waiting for folks, I hear the crew go, I've never seen anything like that. That was amazing. We had horrible turbulence, but came in smooth as glass. There's no explanation for the grace and favor of God. It is not earned by my faith. It is earned by Christ's merit on my behalf. It is by grace through faith. Doesn't happen without my trusting him, but my trusting him doesn't earn it. Do you see the difference? It's not going to happen without, this chair is not going to hold me up if I don't sit in it. It doesn't happen without my faith, without my trust. But my trust isn't earning the chair holding me up. It's either going to hold me up or not. Now, I don't know if it's going to work until I sit in it. But my sitting in it doesn't earn it's holding me up. If it collapses, it's not for lack of faith. If it holds me up, it's not because of my great faith. It's only because of rightly placed faith. So real faith that gives you real joy isn't you trying to fly the plane from coach. It's you letting the true pilot do his job. Pilot with a capital P. We're talking about Christ himself. Faith doesn't produce the flight. It receives the flight. Friends, stop yanking at the armrests like you're the co-pilot. You're the cargo, precious, beloved, cherished, fragile treasure that you are to God. You're the vessel. You're carrying his life, but it's still him that lives it. Even in the garden, Jesus prayed, not my will, but yours. He entrusted himself to the Father, and he had every right not to. He had all of the authority, all of the merit, all, his namesake was worthy of self-direction. But instead of self-directing or God directing or world directing, he entrusted himself, submitted himself, availed himself to God as his Father. Don't do what I want. Do what you want. What you want be done with me. Here's what I want, but don't do what I want. Do what you want with me. They're worth it to me. You're worth it to me. You are worthy, right? Worth. You are worthy of my trust, God. Abba, Daddy, Father, you are worthy of my trust. And that is great faith because it's placed in a great God. That's relational faith. It's entrusting the destination to the Father, not grabbing at the controls. You don't have to convince God to do what a good father would do. You trust that God is a good father and will do as he desires and will be sufficient for you along the way. Faith doesn't make life work better. It doesn't cause life. It makes room for Christ, who is life and really good at it in you. And I know this challenges people because we want to be in control. Faith doesn't make you in control of God. And that's a tough word for people who have misplaced faith in their faith. I know, I get it. Your faith is not forcing God's hand. Your faith is not directing his activity. That's misunderstanding of faith. The last point I want to make, number 4, is that faith entrusts, not demands. Matthew 6:8 reminds us your Father knows what you need before you ask him. It's not your asking him that causes him to do what he was planning on doing anyway. It's the relational process of engaging with him, who already is a good dad and already knows what you need. But he wants you engaging with him relationally. It's about the relationship, not how much you can cause what you want from him by meriting through your faithfulness. It's entrusting yourself to him. Faith isn't twisting God's arm for a pay raise or a sunny day or someone's better response to you. Faith entrusts him with both the need that you have and the way he chooses to meet it. Now, he says that his grace is sufficient for you. Faith is believing him. 2 Corinthians 12:9, my grace is sufficient for you. Do you believe me? So Paul says, okay, then I'm going to rejoice in my weakness and suffering and tribulations and trials and persecutions. Why? Because it's in my weakness, not my overcoming faith. It's in my weakness that his strength is revealed. My faith is in him. It's in him. It's in him. I believe him. I'm not trying to get better. I'm trying to trust him to be the life. I'm not getting better at the life. I'm trusting him as the life. I'm trusting God. To say I'm trusting God for a pay raise today, well, good luck with that. He may want to fly you somewhere richer than just more cash, contentment, character, or calling. He may be wanting you to do and experience him as sufficient in a context that you would rather not go in. I bet the 3 young Jewish boys were praying they wouldn't get thrown into the fiery furnace, and that did not work out for them. But it did work out for them, didn't it? They got thrown in where they did not want, where their faith did not keep them out of, but was sufficient for them in the midst of it. That was great faith. Mary and Martha had faith in God that, If you had only been here sooner, he wouldn't have died. That took a lot of faith. Like, you could have saved him. That took faith, and their faith didn't keep Lazarus from dying. Faith didn't keep Daniel out of the lion's den. It wasn't for lack of faith. If they had believed more, would Jesus have come sooner? No, he wanted them to see something they had yet to even imagine. The resurrection from the dead, better than healing from illness. Man, the deliverance in the lion's den and fiery furnace, not just the freedom to not go in it. What you choose to trust God for is trusting your faith for him. What you entrust yourself to him with, you are enough for me in this. I love you. I trust you. You're a good father. You really do know how to give good gifts to your kids. And I'm not saying it hoping that it's true, like I'm going to cause you to be good. Instead, I'm just going to go, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to have to be enough for me in it. Faith isn't clinging to outcomes. It's clinging to God, who's in control of the outcomes. Not for the outcome you want, because you don't know what he knows. You can't do what he does. You're trusting his sufficiency, not your preferred outcome. That's trusting him to give you life from a circumstance. Faith isn't trusting his grace to overlook your sin. Faith is trusting him to live righteously through you. Are you trusting him like that? That's a more mature faith. His grace it's not overlooking sin. It's making you okay despite your sin and inviting to live righteously, in the righteousness that only his grace can produce. So how about we trust him for the righteousness just as much as we trust him for the forgiveness? Are you going to walk in his righteousness today? I don't always choose that, but I am always frustrated with my lack of trusting him who is sufficient for the righteousness. I don't have to live righteously because I have grace. No, you get to live righteously because you have grace. Now, you don't need more forgiveness. You're already a forgiven person. There is no more. He's already paid for all of your sin before you ever committed one, unless you've been around since the first century. But let's not fall heavy on his grace to overlook sin. That's not what he does. He empowers righteousness. He's made you new. He's paid for your sin. That doesn't mean that sin is okay. It means you're okay even if you sin. But why live that way when the same grace that makes you okay despite your sin makes you empowered to live a righteous life? What if that's better? What if you could trust him? The very moment that you stop demanding what you want from God, you might start to discover what you needed in the better life in relationship with him all along. Instead of you getting to live whatever life you want, how about you trust him for what you don't yet know you want? It'll be the satisfaction of your soul. You do have a new heart that is satisfied only and always in him, but you don't get to dictate what that looks like. You don't even know what he knows. How can you do what only he can do in and through you? Faith is not leverage to get what you want. I'm having faith so that you'll do what I want. I'm having faith today to fix this problem my way. He might not, but he'll be sufficient on either path he takes you. How about you trust him instead of what you want from him? Faith is not your leverage to force God's hand. It's rest to receive what he desires for you. Do you trust him like that? Do you trust him like that? Maybe he gets to be the dad today. Not that he's not gracious and sometimes gives you what you want. You know, if we want ice cream for breakfast, sometimes he'll do that. But he's also a good dad who doesn't just do whatever you want. You don't get to be the dad today. You do not get to be the dad today. Nor would you want to be if you saw the outcome of you being in control versus God being in control. If God follows your direction, the rest of us should be scared. God is not going to follow you today, but he's awfully gracious to you. 1 John 4:18 says perfect love. Actually, here's a fifth point. We should separate these out. Perfect love. Listen, perfect love casts out all fear. lot of times we have faith for what we think will alleviate the anxiety of our life. God, give me that. Let a check come in today. Some donations are running late in the ministry, and we have a lot of expenses trying to move. It's like, okay, I did not presume that our donations would go down as our expenses are going up. Yee! So I can pray, and it's not wrong to pray, that God will bring in the finances, and he's gracious and loving and caring, and he might meet my needs my way. But my hope is in him, not in the checks coming today. Really. I mean, I can choose to trust him with what he's doing that I don't know, because it's him. It's him. Instead of trusting him to do what I prefer, which is me. Perfect love. Not God's obedience of you. Perfect love. Christ himself, perfect love, casts out fear. How does this work? Faith doesn't magically remove the storm outside your window tonight, my friends. Faith fixes your eyes on Christ instead of the turbulence. As you're flying and the storm comes in the plane and the plane is shaking around, faith doesn't necessarily remove the storm outside the window. When Jesus rebuked the disciples' faith in the boat, oh, you have little faith. In the middle of the storm, it wasn't that you didn't believe I could calm the storm. It's that you believed I didn't care about you and you weren't okay with me in the storm. In the storm. Faith fixes our gaze on Christ instead of the turbulence. Fear may still rattle the cabin. You're still going to have those emotions. But love in the cockpit guarantees him landing you where he wants you. He's a bigger deal than the storm. So faith isn't the end of the storm. Faith is Christ with you in it. Faith doesn't remove the object of your fear all the time, my friends. Fiery furnaces, lions' dens, stormy seas, all still happen when you have great faith in a great God. It doesn't always remove the storm. So my begging for the storm to be removed is one way that God can prove his sufficiency, but it's not the only way. And he sometimes wants to astound me by his serendipitous grace and sufficiency. So faith doesn't always, even often, remove the object of your fear. Instead, it fixes our gaze upon Christ, who as love, Christ is love. God is love. Christ is God. It fixes our eyes on Christ, the author and perfecter of our faith, who loved you and gave himself for you, Hebrews 12:2 says. So if he is love, he loves you, then faith is not removing what we're afraid of. It's fixing our eyes on Christ, who as love casts out the fear. Not the object of the fear, but the fear. I'm trusting him in the storm. That's faith, because he's good to me. He loves me. He's enough for me. His grace is sufficient for me. How about we fix our eyes on Jesus instead of the storm? The fear doesn't go away because everything I'm afraid of gets better. The fear goes away because I look at him instead of what I'm afraid of. Romans 15:13 says, may the God of hope. No one ever hopes from the circumstance they wanted. They hope they hope in the circumstance they wish they weren't in. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Divine hope is not better circumstance. Divine hope is a bigger God. Sufficient grace. The God who loves you in the circumstances you wish you weren't in, but you can trust him anyway. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and all peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. So the seatbelt sign may stay on and the storm may remain. There may even still be turbulence, but the pilot isn't nervous, meaning Christ, who is flying you home. And neither should you be. Listen, something's going to take you and I out of this planet, and we're going to be fine in Christ forever. So my faith is not that everything's going to work out my way. My faith is in him who's in me in whatever. So faith doesn't deny the fear. It redirects our focus to the one who, as love himself, casts out all fear. It is okay that you want the circumstance to be better. Ask for that and then say, but whatever you do, I trust you. He's working on your trust of him, not your crisis resolution preference. What if the best thing for you is that you learn to live from him as your life instead of the circumstance from life and circumstances you weren't in? And then he can remove you from it or sustain you in it or do something miraculous to it. See, then he can do whatever he wants because he has your attention. And maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe the circumstance is for you to fix your eyes on him instead of the circumstance. And then he can do whatever he wants in and through you. He can remove you from it. He can change it. He can sustain you miraculously in it. He can do something miraculous through you. He can do whatever he wants once he has your focus on him. Look at me, 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 look at me. I know it hurts. I know it's hard. Look at me. I've got you. Faith doesn't silence every fear directly, right? The object of your fear may not go away, but it outsources the focus to the perfect love of Christ in the midst of it. And as we trust him, he sustains us in it and through it and can do whatever he wants with us by his grace, not by our circumstance. And often he changes the circumstance, but first he's often going to deliver us in it with him before he delivers us from it. He wants our trust more than he wants our circumstance to change. And that's never us. We always want the circumstance to change. And in the midst of it, he shifts our focus and we learn the sustaining power of his grace. And then he'll move us out of it or through it or sustain us in it in a way that we never imagined. And our life, knowing Christ and God the Father who sent him, knowing him, our actual life abounds in hope and joy, not because the circumstances always shift our way. He's not a divine Pez machine. God, I'm trusting you. Okay, here you go. I'm trusting you. Okay, here you go. He's not your slot machine. He's not your gumball machine, whatever you want to say. He's not the divine mechanism by which you get whatever you want. That's faith in you and faith in faith for life in circumstances. And none of that is accurate. How about we put our faith in God because he is good and he is loving and he is the Father. He is Abba to you today. Let's let him, through Christ, do the living through you. So what do we do with all of this? How do you walk this out? Number one, stop treating faith like a ticket that you bought with your own money. God, I deserve what I want because I'm putting my faith in you. Faith is not a good work by which you merit God's activity in your life. There's no grace in that. If you could earn it, Christ died for nothing. That's not what faith is. Faith is not the means by which you earn God's favor. Do you hear me? This is a big fallacy and it's causing lots of error. And then that error, when people start to get hold of grace, causes other error. So the last thing I want you to do is think that God is giving you faith and he's really gracious, so he must be saving everybody. That's not true either. We have to stop treating faith like some ticket that you bought with your own effort and money and merit. Faith is not the means by which you merit God's favor. It's not a good work. It's not a good work. You don't have to be regenerate in order to trust him. Start treating faith like the seat that you were given on his flight. He has placed you there. Trust him for the ride. Stop demanding God take the route that you prefer on the flight of your life. Maybe you can trust him with this. Instead of trusting what you want from him, how about you trust him? You can ask for what you want from him and then trust him with whatever he chooses to do. And finally, maybe you can start resting in the one that's piloting your plane, who knows both your needs and your destination and the best way to get you where you're going. Faith is not a transaction. It's a relationship of trust. It's not transactional, it's relational. It's not leverage over God. It's letting him love you as your Father. Grace Tribe, let's be a people who stop straining in the seat and start resting in our rightly placed hope in the pilot. Not in the circumstances, not that it'll all be smooth, not that it's all going to work out your way, not how your needs get met, but in the one that meets your needs. Let's be a people who stop trusting God for the outcomes that we demand, like spoiled, rotten, consumer, infantile toddlers. He loves you. He's fine with that, but he wants more for you. He wants a more mature relationship with you than that. Let's start entrusting him with the outcomes that he lovingly desires for us, because he's working on our trust. He's working on your trust, because that is more valuable than your outcomes. And then he can do whatever he wants with you as you trust him. If he is your life, not your circumstances, then the best thing in the world is for you to fix your eyes on him who loves you and gave his life for you and to you and wants to live through you. If he's your life, then the best thing he can do is Romans 8:28 and 29. Use everything for good by conforming you to the dependent life of Christ. Faith is not you pulling up the armrests. It's you relaxing in the seat. Not because everything is smooth, but because the pilot is capable. God is capable. Faith is not you directing the cockpit. It's you trusting the captain. Faith is not you holding the plane in the air by your effort or your will or your chant. It's the plane and the pilot holding you. And together, let's live not by the myth of great faith in a puny God, like you've got to convince him to be loving to you. Let's live by the reality of a great God who's invited you to a life of faith. That's how it's a gift. That's how it's a gift. You get to live a life by grace through faith. That sounds like a gift to me. That's such a better life. Faith isn't about how tightly you hold on to him. Faith is about how completely he already holds on to you. Good news is he doesn't even hit turbulence. He's got you. There's no problem with him holding you. He's perfectly able to sustain and accomplish all that he desires for you, right? He who began a good work in you, who took you off on this flight, he will see you all the way home. He'll bring it to completion. How about we learn to trust him and believe that the Christian life is about a relationship, not circumstantial maneuvering from God? And we enjoy the ride. How about we enjoy the ride? My friends, grace is the merit that only Christ can favor. It's not unmerited, it's just unmerited by you. And it's the empowerment for divine life that only Christ can live through you. And it's the economy by which he does that living through you as you, by faith, trust him. Let him. He does the living. That's grace. You do the letting. That's faith. Depend upon him. Just as Christ followed and depended upon God as his Father, maybe you and I grow up in that life, the Christ life, that Christ lives through you. Maybe we live a dependent life, not a directing life, too. And in that way, you can know him, Father and Son, in union with you. You can know Christ as your life. You can grow in grace instead of merit. Maybe we just let go of all of that, how great my faith is, and I'm growing in my faith. How about we just grow in our dependence upon Christ because he's worthy, and by grace makes us worthy. And as you know him more and grow in grace, go love. Go love like crazy. That's the overflow of hope and joy and fulfillment of this divine life, that you would trust him enough to be available to love others with his love. Let him love through his divine fruit in peace and joy, kindness and generosity. Maybe we overflow in his fullness. What would it look like right now? Just take a moment. I know we're running a minute long, 2 minutes long. What would it look like for you today, right now, to overflow from Christ instead of focusing on fear? What if you fix your eyes on Jesus, who as love casts out the fear in the circumstance before he ever removes you from the circumstances? What if you can trust him now? As Michael Martinez is saying, count it all joy, not because it all looks like joy to you, but because the one who's in control is going to use it to increase your Christ confident hope in his sufficiency by grace for you, whatever that might look like today. How about we overflow together today? Love like crazy right now. Peace like crazy. Rest like crazy. Kindness like crazy. Generosity like crazy. Grace like crazy today in and through you, my friends. And I will catch you come Monday. Hopefully Monday. Definitely Tuesday. But hopefully Monday. And we'll continue this What Is series. What is? What is grace? What is faith? What is discipleship? What is the new covenant? It's where we're headed. Glad you're here. Thanks for being on the same flight as me today, right? What a great thing we get to fly this life in him together. Love you guys.